Mic check, good. So I'm Max Ceron, CWB Association Welding podcast. Today we have a really cool guest, Welding podcast.
The show is about to begin.
I'm very well, Max. Thank you. How are you? A little frosty, but I was figuring I had the chance to chat with you this morning, so woke up with a positive attitude, and I'm looking forward to this. Nobody wants to hear that from me, Max. So actually, I was born in Medicine Hat. I was born in Alberta, but I was raised in a very small town of Richmond, Saskatchewan. So about 10 minutes from the Alberta border. I did grow up in town, a community of about 200 people. So very small farming community. But yeah, I grew up with the boys. There was majority of children my age. We're all boys, so I grew up, building forts and playing in the dirt and with trucks and whatnot. We grew up, we had to take shop class, we had to take home ec. Basically, school wanted to prepare us for everything. So grew up doing all that, and then decided after I graduated, I moved up to Saskatoon. I was going to be an accountant, and I was going to be an accountant, Max. I loved math. I did very well in math. The only problem with that was I never learned how to study in math. It came super easy. So by the time university came and I had to take calculus and all that, it was a hard lesson and my first like real big failure. I did fail out of my university classes, which to me was a real hard shot in the gut. But it allowed me to take the time to really evaluate what I wanted to do. I didn't overly enjoy the classes. I didn't like sitting in big lecture theaters and just having information thrown at me. I very much like to be moving and working with my hands. And so it took some time to really think about what I wanted to do. And then I flipped open, it used to be the SciS catalog. I'm sure you're familiar, the paper copy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So I started flipping through and I just started thinking, what have I done that I think I might enjoy as a career? What kind of skills do I have? And basically narrowed my options down. I was down to either nursing, carpentry, and welding. And from there, I decided, you know what? I did welding in high school, and at the time, I hated it. Honestly, I didn't get along with the teacher. It was dirty. We had very old equipment. I mean, our practice coupons were cultivator shovels. So we literally never welded more than like 2 inches at a time. So I didn't have a good picture of what welding was. But I did really well at it. I learned the theory very well, and my 2 inch weld was always looking good. So, uh, but I really wanted to get into interior decorating and decor and metal art. And so I thought, well, if I want to do that, I better learn how to join some metals. So I applied for the welding program, and I guess the rest is history. That was the start. Yeah. Yeah, for a number of years, definitely my earlier years was very much whatever the boys did, I wanted to be doing. And I mean, don't get me wrong, I certainly had my time where I was really into doing hair and nails and makeup. Those it started to come like as I got into my teenage years. The boys kind of separated away, and once the boys started, you know, finding interest in the girls and starting to date the girls, that's really when I found that separation. It was like, well, I don't want to hear what these guys are saying about my friends, or, I don't want to be the middle person either, right? Because a lot of my girlfriends, oh, well, you know the guys. And so I found I was that middle person. So for me, it was, okay, you know what? I'm just going to separate and I'll hang out with the girls now. Um, you know what? My best friend growing up, he was my go-to for that. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. So actually my godfather, my one uncle, I knew he did a lot. I wasn't certain of his role per se, but I knew he did a lot with finances. And I don't want to say I was sheltered growing up, but at the same time, I was kind of sheltered. Like growing up in that small town, we didn't have as much exposure to different careers, right? Exactly. It was very stereotypical. The women would become teachers or nurses or secretaries, and you know, you know how it is, right? Yeah, yeah. Well, exactly, right. So, oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, honestly, I never told my parents the reason why I stopped going to university. I never told them then that like the no, no, I've told them since. I've told them since. Um, but at the time I right? Don't listen, mom and dad. No. I did get a letter from the university asking me to take a year off. And so, I mean, I kind of broke it to my mom how I know how with a bit of humor. I told her, I've got good news and bad news. And okay, the bad news is I'm pregnant, mom. And she's, what? And I said, oh, no, that's the good news. That's just a joke. The bad news is I'm not going back to university because I hate it, which, which was the truth. I mean, it wasn't my thing. I was, 19 years at the time. I spent more time wanting to socialize and meet people than I did with my studies. And so rather than continue to spend the money to go to, take something I don't love, I told my parents, you know what, I'm going to work for a few years and I'm going to think about what I want to do. And so it was about 2 years that I was just working random jobs. I think I was, two or three part-time jobs at a time. Um, and then, yeah, they were both really shocked when I said I was going to go into welding. Dad had questions. I mean, at the time, I had very short hair and I was playing on women's softball teams, and he made assumptions about my sexuality and kind of joked about it. And um, but at the end, like, I don't know if he was maybe leery when I first got into it, but by the time I finished my certificate program in welding, um, my class had voted me as kind of the leader of the group. And so just even telling him about that, you know what, like, I'm really loving this. I can't wait. I'm doing well. My class appreciates me. Like, I'm still kind of taking on these leader roles. And my parents are both teachers, by the way. So they love somebody who steps up. But it was then, and as I started to progress in my career, that dad really started to see that, oh, I actually was good at it. Um, so
Right?
yeah, I did. Yeah. And actually, I finished our program a little early. I did manage to get my assignments done ahead of a number of classmates. And I was so excited. I thought, well, I did amazing at school. And I was so excited to start working. And then it took me, so I finished school, I believe it was end of April, beginning of May kind of thing. I didn't start working until about September or October. And that was really frustrating. Looking back, it was a slower time in industry. But I was really convinced it was because I was a woman. Um, there was, yeah, there was a lot of my classmates, that the male counterparts, that they got jobs right away. And I do remember there was one shop in particular that I went and applied, and of course walked in with my resume and kind of got a bit of a sneer from the admin. And she gave me that, we're not looking to hire. And I said, well, I saw your ad online. You are looking for welders. That's what I'm here applying as. And at that moment, one of the supervisors came out and he looked at me and said, we don't hire women. And I, like, eyes wide. I mean, I don't hide my emotions very well. So he certainly, it is. And like to this day still, I was so proud of myself. I looked at him and I said, you know what? I don't even want to work here. And I turned and walked away. And of course, I got to my car and I was very emotional. But I thought, why would I want to work at a place that is that close minded? And absolutely. And so I kind of did my own little experiment. When I started applying at places, half the places I would apply as Allison, and the other half I started applying as Al. And imagine that I got more phone calls back to the applicants where I applied as Al. And there were still a few that, oh, when they found out that I was a woman, oh yeah, well, we'll see if we can get you in for an interview, or right, whatever the excuse was. But I found a amazing job. My first job was great. I was night shift, which wasn't quite. That's exactly. But it was such a small crew. Like there were five of us on the crew. My supervisor was a female. I worked with one of the girls I had taken school with. So there was three females and two guys on our crew. And oh, it was amazing. It was so great. It, it was hard because I learned that I was not as strong as welder as what I thought I was. Um, right? Yeah, but again, that you hear from your coworkers, oh, who did this be weld, and then look down and know that I was the one who did it. So that was hard too. But then it really opened the door for me because I was one of the less skilled workers on our welders on our crew. They knew that, okay, well, we need more fitters. So that's where the supervisor took me right under her wing and she trained me one on one on how to be a better fitter. And that's really where I found I excelled. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Mhm. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, I did request to go back and retake my second level. And the reason for that, because it was about 2 years after I was in school that got to go back. My first company, they were not eager to indenture me. And so I was only there about 8 months. So I started at the second shop that I worked at. And then after I had spent a bit of time there, I asked them if I would be able to go back to school. And I did want to go back because so much of my work experience was in fabrication. I did want to finish with my welding because that's what I started with. And I didn't want to just leave that. So, yeah, I requested to retake my second year to give me that additional practice. And for me, I'm so glad I did and that I was able to. So I completed my welding. Um, Actually, I got my red seal in that in 2014. And it was like 6 months later, I was signed up as a metal fabricator and got to take my first year of school. So it was like back to back trades. Um, I don't believe that for a minute. Mm. Yeah. Uh, well, certainly for the welding, especially the first 2 years, learning the processes. I did for me was very challenging because industry, all we did was my first shop, it was GMAW, and my second shop was all metal core, flux core. So it was all the wire fed processes were the only practical experience I had. So learning the theory behind every every process, I did find really challenging in the welding. I didn't find as many challenges in the metal fab, but I had already been in industry for a number of years. So much of the fabrication, the drawings, like that was what I did day to day. And the exactly the company I was working for, they were amazing at moving me around. So I had experience with the structural, the plate work, the piping, even the pressure vessels. So I was very rounded in my knowledge just from the company I worked at. And I think that was really my saving grace. Because, I mean, for somebody who would be green, I would say probably the metal fab, I would say as one of the harder courses, just because there's that much more that you need to learn. Yeah, yeah, right. Yeah, 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 right. Yeah, yeah. And I mean, when I work with prospective students and especially females, which is, as you know, my area of expertise or whatever, I like to kind of give them the idea that, okay, are you more of a problem solver and you like to like think things through and come up with solutions? And again, like that math, right? If that's kind of more your skill level or your interest, metal fab might be a better suit for you. Whereas the welding is more the application. Physically, can you produce a nice weld, right? Yeah, you have to know somewhat of what goes into a weld, but a lot of times when you're in industry, especially welding to a procedure, like you can go to a book that tells you exactly everything you need to do, how to set your machine, and it's a matter of, okay, can you work with this? Exactly, right? So kind of the different, are you the doer or the thinker? Is. And I mean, I know that's a very simplified way to explain it, right? But yes, exactly. Absolutely. You know, I am such a believer of to keep your options open, right? I was very happy with what with the shop that I was working at, and throughout my entire schooling, I stayed at the same shop. Like I was there, it was almost a full decade I was at that shop. Um, but I wanted to have in my back pocket a more desirable resume, right? If people could see, okay, well, I've completed a red seal in welding and then I've completed a red seal in fabrication, it would allow me, it could open the door to allow more travel or getting out of province. Absolutely, with the same credentials, right? The other thing too, like, so right after I got my welding, I got married that year. And then the plan was to get married and have a kid. So I took my first year fab, um, like 2 weeks after I got back from my honeymoon, I think it was. And then found out while I was in school that I was also expecting. So then it was, okay, well, try to balance school. May as well, yeah. But I wanted that, knowing that, okay, then I was going to become a mom. I wanted to show that, okay, I've taken schooling, this is what I've accomplished. But now having the second trade, I was hoping that, okay, this would allow me more flexibility to have the time at home to be a mother, but also to make a great wage. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, dad is very much like, okay, so if I get all these metal projects, you can just help me out with them. So it's cheap labor for him. Honestly, I never saw that for myself. No, I I had always wanted to be a teacher though, and that was since I was a kid and seeing my parents as teachers. And like growing up, I taught piano and helped out, and so I had that little bit of teaching experience. And I actually, when I was in my third year welding, my instructor at the time was the one female instructor we had on staff, and she started talking to me about this WIT program. That was Tammy, yeah. Oh, I absolutely love Tabby. She is one of the reasons, honestly, why I got to where I'm at. Is she started telling me about this WIT program that even as a student, I mean, yeah, I've got emails from WIT, but I never paid attention to them. But then she started talking to me and she's like, well, why don't you come teach for us? And at the time I was like, I'm not even a journeyman. Like, I can't be a teacher. And she's like, "Well, no, you'd just be, you'd be teaching women that are interested in getting into trades." Like, she's like, "You don't have to share all your theory, you just have to show them how to weld." So I was like, "Okay, well, I'm not even a good welder." And she's like, "Well, you're better than them." So she is, yeah. Why am I blanking on his name right now too? I could picture his face in my mind. Um, oh, nice. My quick speech for the WIT program is basically we work in two ways. We work to help raise awareness and to help with recruitment to get women into the male dominated skill trades and technology programs. So we offer exploration courses where we invite women onto campus. And actually, we're starting to do outreach too, which is exciting. But basically, we bring them in, we get a journeyed woman who's a part of that trade, whether it be welding, carpentry, whatever, and give them a day of hands on the tools, talk to them about the trade, what's great, what can be challenging, and just create a safe space for them to try things out where they don't feel uncomfortable asking questions, right? We like to keep our groups small, like a small group of 12 kind of thing, um, where they have that opportunity, almost a one-on-one, to ask any questions that are on their mind. The other part of what we do is we're a support service for our female students on campus. So if students we remind them, when the different award cycles are open, and hey, remember to apply for all these scholarships. We do networking lunch and learns with them. So we'll feed them pizza and bring in an industry speaker and just give them the opportunity to network with different women. We have an open door policy. So if there's a challenge or a struggle that they're going through, they can feel safe to come into our office and chat about it. And we've been there, right? Like, we understand that sometimes you might be the only female in your group of 12, or if you're lucky, you might have another female classmate. But sometimes it is uncomfortable to go to your male instructor or male program head to talk about some of these issues, right? So we're just that safe space that they can feel comfortable, and just come and chat with us. Absolutely.
The CWB Association is new and improved and focused on you. We offer a free membership with lots of benefits to anyone interested in joining an association that is passionate about welding. We are committed to educating, informing, and connecting our workforce. Gain access to your free digital publication of the Weld magazine, free online training, conferences, and lots of giveaways. Reach out to your local CWB Association chapter today to connect with other welding professionals and share welding as a trade in your community. Build your career, stay informed, and support the Canadian welding industry. Join today and learn more at cwbassociation.org.
Mhm.
I think really we work to give them a lot of resources and really just education, the awareness, right? We do, obviously, we always like to talk about why the trades are amazing, but we also like to share with these women what can happen, right? And it's not that we're, ranting and raving about, oh, these awful experiences we may have had. It's the truth, right? And we just want whoever is going into the trades to be aware of these truths that unfortunately they still do exist. And don't get me wrong, industry's on the right track, and there are so many initiatives to diversify and everything, but it is not a perfect world, and we know that, right? And it's not always the perfect environment for every personality either.
Mm.
One of the biggest barriers we hear time and again is childcare, right? And that goes for any industry you're in. I know from my experience in welding, childcare was a challenge when I became a single mom. When I was in industry, it wasn't always easy to get my kid to daycare for me to start work at 6, right? Um, the nice thing for women is because everyone's pushing to get more women involved, we have a lot more options about places we can work. And that was honestly part of what led me to the role that I'm in now, is having that flexibility to better balance my career with my family life. Uh, but yeah, finding childcare is a big barrier, but also finances, right? If you have no exposure, if you have no idea what a trade really entails other than, hey, I know welders join metals. Well, you might think you're interested in something, but when you actually get to doing it, it's not the right fit for you, right? So that's where our programming, we have the exploratories to give them that overview, because it is really difficult to make a big financial commitment to commit to going to school for a year, right? Obviously your bills will continue. you're likely not working when you're focused on school. And then if you've got a family or dependents that you're caring for, I mean, it just adds and adds and adds, right? So absolutely, that financial barrier is one of the hardest ones. And so that's what the WIT program, the WIT Powered by Orano program, is working to help reduce. So if there's, funded programs that come up, we have a huge list of contacts that are always interested in more information. So let's get the word out. Let's share these opportunities with them. We're starting to have, sponsored seats, or we have external partners that we work with to reduce this cost for these women to get in and to start trying out and get a better idea of the opportunities that are out there. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, you totally are. Um, I know a lot of those supports, and I'm just thinking in regards to newcomers. So we have started reaching out to some of our larger newcomer organizations in the various cities here in the province. And so we know that, yes, like the language barrier, the cultural differences, right? Those are huge. I mean, Saskatchewan is amazing. There are supports throughout campus, right? So if you need support with language or with your studies, like we've got tutors, we've got supports for that. Um, and like WIT doesn't work directly one-on-one with those students. That's more our job to just, again, bring that information, connect them, right? Hey, come to our office, let us know how we can help, and we're going to find you the answers that you're looking for, right? Because that's one of the most intimidating parts is where you're struggling, but you don't know where to start to find the information, right? Or who to reach out to. Well, we've got those resources to help put you in the right hands to get you settled. Yep. Well, I think it's great, especially getting out to industry, right? Because that's where, I mean, in school, we can support you, we can make accommodations, we have that capacity. Not every industry is willing or able to make those modifications, right? And so, like, obviously, with our WIT program, we've got a very extensive list of employers that have gotten great reviews from our female students, right? We also have lists where we've had students that have really struggled with employers. And so, when we're working with these students that may have a different ability, we want to make sure that both we're working with industry and also with the program to make sure that we're helping set this student up for success. right? We want to make sure that we are getting them sent out to an employer that has these accommodations in place or is willing to make changes, right? We don't want to just, okay, well, you're done school, here you go, head out to industry, right? And so we do work closely with the Office to Advance Women Apprentices, and we're starting to do more work. They did. I'm so excited. Yes. Yeah, so we do work really close with Vanessa. Um, because basically she's that industry support, we're that school support, right? So we like the students to be aware. We've also started working too with Women Building Futures, because they have a lot of those industry supports as well, and they know a lot of the employers, right? So that's where those resources and just keeping the students informed and telling them how it is, right? Being real with them, being truthful with them, so that they know what they're fully getting into. Throughout the year, yeah. So I'm trying to get my ladies all on board. We've had huge shifts within WIT too. So I mean, 2 years ago, I stepped into the role as program head, and my entire team was new. That was the year Tammy retired. Um, yeah. So I went from having 4 halftime coordinators to right now I have 2 full-time and 4 halftime coordinators. So now there's 6 women that are working on my team. So we are thankfully able to expand, but so each of the different cities, where we do have a campus, works within their city to find resources that are available to stay up to date. Um, but each month we do like to have a pizza lunch for our students. And so during the year, we'll, ask the students, who do you want to hear from? Is there a specific industry? Are you looking to hear about supports? We'll bring in our internal student services that help with, I know we call it like soft skill or essential skill training, resume writing, like those things that as a student getting into the workforce, you're going to have to know these things, right? So, right, right. These are additional supports that, I mean, as a certificate student, you hear about these on your first day or second day of school, but it's such an information overload, right? They go through, okay, these are your 25 supports that are available to you, and then they're not really talked about throughout the year. So, day one, when you're hearing all this information, you don't remember most of it. So throughout the year, maybe 3 or 4 months later, we'll bring in one of those supports and help them out. Or we regularly bring in Vanessa from the Office to Advance Women, especially near the end of the year when students are almost getting out. Exactly. Hey, reach out to Vanessa. She's going to be supporting you in industry. Right. So, and those lunch and learns we invite all of the females that are in, well, now our faculty. We transitioned schools to faculty now. So any female student that's in, construction, transportation, mining, manufacturing, engineering, come on in. You're more than welcome. We've even had a number of male students start to attend our pizza lunches. And I know the first pizza lunch I went to, there was a gentleman there and he looked at me and he said, "Oh, I'm a guy." And I said, "Well, it's 2023. I make no assumptions." And I just, "Hey, welcome to our pizza lunch." And then he said, "Well, is it okay if I stay here? I know it's for women." And I was like, "Well, I have one question for you. Do you support women in trades?" And he absolutely, yeah, my sister's actually his sister's in welding. That's why I like him so much. But Awesome. Yeah. Right? Who doesn't? So far, these last 2 years, we have, with having more staff available, we have been able to offer more exploratory courses. So I know the year I stepped in, I think we had, one program in the fall, one in the spring that was running in Saskatoon and Regina. And now we have each semester, so kind of fall and winter semesters, we have all four campuses offering at least one program that's going on. With Lorraine being our Indigenous coordinator, she is getting out to the smaller communities that are a bit more remote. So she's going out there to do presentations and take a bunch of swag and share what WIT offers with these students. And I mean, majority of communities she goes into, they've never even heard of us. And it's crazy to me because I know the WIT program has been around for over 30 years. And we still have, there's so many people in the province that have no idea we exist and no idea that we're there to support our students. So my vision is really just making us a known name, right? Like, so that everyone knows who we are. Um, we actually have, we have a young women's conference that it's actually tomorrow. Down in Regina, but we do host that regularly. And now this year we're doing a Jill of all trades event. Okay. For ours here in Saskatchewan or nice. Yeah, so it'll be Saskatoon actually May 8th. It is the first time that they're coming out to Saskatchewan. So like perfect. Okay. I'm I am writing it down right now. Okay, perfect. I'll add you to our email distribution list. um, but yeah, so my goal is that every year we're gonna have be able to offer a Jill of all trades. And so yeah, we're starting to do more conferences, just basically provide more information to these younger ladies. So our young women's conference being for grade 8 girls, and then that Jill of all trades for grade 9 to 12 young ladies. So while they're still in elementary, getting into high school, or while they're still in high school, they still have the opportunity to try out and explore these different career options available to them so that when they graduate, they're not overwhelmed with, well, now what do I do? Right? They've started building those ideas. Yeah. 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 I don't know. I don't know. That's that's that right? Well, and that's really part of what I'm still learning, right? Because I am so new to the role, I'm at the point where I'm for myself getting out there and making connections, and reaching out to people and starting that communication, right? Um, I mean, we have our files of people we've reached out to. The trouble is, well, I guess one of the challenges, certainly when working with women exclusively, is all of the documentation, all of the data we have can get altered, right? Like you think about when we used to keep track of people for contact information, it was a first name, last name basis. Well, as a woman, especially for myself, I know that when I got married, I changed my last name. So I'm no longer Allison Coral, right? Where if the only way to get a hold of me you have is through Allison Coral, well, now you can't contact me anymore, right? Or for myself again, like when I had my son, well, I took a major step back from my involvement and my volunteer for that first year, year and a half, 2 years, whatever it was. Well, then I'm off the radar, right? They've already found somebody to replace me. Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, these are still the barriers that a lot of women face, right? And it's still a lot of our society too. Like I don't know. I mean, for a lot of the women that I work with, they still feel expected that as the mom, they're the caregivers or, they kind of fall into that role. And I know that's certainly right. Well, and that's certainly not the case for everyone, right? But a very high number of people that I talk to, that is the case, and that's their reality, right? Um, so we we don't. A lot of it is, I mean, because we keep that open lines of communication. Yeah, like for example, I have one lady, and right now she's in her second year welding. I taught an applied certificate and she was in my course. So she's back, and first thing she came back to campus and she had to stop up and say hi and kind of catch up with me. So it's that relationship we built, that now she feels, we keep in contact and she likes to keep me in the loop. And that's not the case for everyone, right? Like some people when they're done school, they're out of here and they don't really care. Um, but it's certainly when there are either those really good experiences or the very negative ones, those are the ones that seem to be shared. We don't have a lot of the neutral, like, oh, yeah, it was okay, right? It's either this was great and this is why, or I had an awful time because of this, right?
For sure.
Right? No kidding. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And there is such a huge range of confidence levels. And like, I mean, I was putting together a PowerPoint, so I very briefly touched on the tip of the iceberg on those confidence levels. But I know Cornell and like a bunch of universities in the States have extensive studies about the different levels of confidence in women versus men as young as in for every decade, basically 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. And their study that they took, women's confidence levels didn't start exceeding men until most women were in their 50s or 60s. So you think of these young women getting into the trades that are in their 20s or 30s, or heaven forbid, if they're still in their teens, how low their confidence level is in comparison to their male counterparts. And so much of it, that's why we as women put up with so much of this. We don't have the confidence to be bold and to speak up, right? And so that's where our networking um, events and when we do our like our summer camps for young girls, we're constantly reminding them like be confident. You might not be the best in this trade, but you are the best you and you have these skills, and if you're not appreciated, then you need to choose a place that does appreciate you, right? And we really reiterate that like know your worth and find the best fit for you. And it is hard to leave a company that's treating you awful, right? But it's harder to stay there and be treated like trash than absolutely, right? And so yeah, definitely the confidence is it's a big part. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. Yep. Hmm. Yeah. So actually on our website, we have a little mentorship section on there where women can sign up. So if they're looking to become a mentor or if they're looking to find a mentor, so that mentor-mentee relationship, they can sign up. So we do have extensive documents about, people we've matched together or if a student even like if they email or whatever from a program that I'm not familiar with, and hey, I have some questions about this. We do kind of have our list of go-to ladies that will tap on the shoulder and hey, this, so and so has questions about this. I know you have a similar experience. Would you mind having a conversation? And I mean, I haven't reached out to anyone that's been like, no thanks, take me off your list. Right? Like these women they're wanting to volunteer, right? Don't contact me. But they're wanting to volunteer their time to share their experiences, share their advice, and to help this next generation. Our big save the date right now is definitely our Jill of All Trades event for May 8th. That's quickly approaching. The majority of our programming will be wrapping up at the end of April for this academic year. So definitely, I would say if you've got younger kids that you're looking to get into some summer camps, we have our Girls Exploring Trades and Technology, our GET camps that we're hoping to host on each campus. So we'll be posting some ads for that right away and then getting back into the fall programming. So again, we'll be doing at least one program, if not more, on each of our 4 campuses. And those are for ladies 15 plus. So there is no maximum age. We've had women in their 50s and 60s come take our programming. It's super beneficial if you're looking for a change of career, but also if you just want to add some extra skills to your toolkit. So Orano, Canada, they are a uranium mining company. Their head office is in France, but they do have a headquarters here in Saskatoon. They very generously gifted our program $1 million over the next decade. So they are making a financial contribution to us to help us to get more women into the trades, to raise the awareness, and to reduce the barriers that are involved with getting into the trades. So through their gift, through their giving, last year we certainly spent a lot of time on, or a lot of money on advertising to really get the name out there and rebranding. We do want people to know that majority of what we do now is thanks to Orano and the gift that they've given us. But now it's allowing us to expand our staff, which will expand our programming and to offer at a more reasonable price to the students looking to participate. Man, I would send them out. Absolutely. I would send them up in a heartbeat. A huge amount of the work that we are doing because of their funding is getting out into the communities. So reaching out to a lot smaller Indigenous and First Nation communities, but also expanding into the North. Because, I mean, historically, the WIT programs have operated on Prince Albert, Moose Jaw, Saskatoon, and Regina campus, and on campus alone. So now we've got our little mini training trailer that we're able to take out into communities. So if these communities get a group of women together, rather than them having to drive 4 or 5 hours to come to our campus to take programming, hey, you know what? We're going to come to you. We're going to come to you in your community where you're right at home, give you a bit of additional knowledge. Obviously, yes, we're trying to get some of these these students and especially young ladies up north working in the mines, right? Um, but definitely, yeah, just reaching out and just spreading the word, just sharing the information that we're around and how can we support our female students. I do think about heading back to industry every once in a while. I do also have my level one weld inspection, which is coming up for renewal this year. So I've been looking at CWB courses that I can take to keep that relevant. Um, but with my role here, having the summers off, I have often thought about, well, maybe I could head out into industry and maybe do some weld inspection over the summertime, right? Um, yeah, yeah. So it's for me just a matter of finding that balance between the childcare and being out in industry. I do like to tinker. That's still my thing. I have no drive to get back to industry on the tools. Um, I don't think my poor body could handle it these days, to be honest. I've been in the office for too long, but I do like to tinker and do a lot of decorative and like decor work. And some of it's personal, some of it is, if friends are getting married or whatever, kind of more of a gift. But yeah, I do see myself hopefully continuing in this program head role for a while. And who knows, maybe one day I'll be moving up to academic chair or dean or whatever. I mean, I got to keep my options open, right? Absolutely. Well, and that's the other thing too. Like a lot of the senior management is looking closer at that retirement, right? And I know I've still got a number of years left on them, so why not? Right. So if they want to check out, we are on Facebook. Um, South Polytech, I believe it's Saskatchewan Polytechnic Women in Trades and Technology, or if you just shorten it to WITT, WITT. And then we do also have our Women in Trades homepage, which is at saskpolytech.ca/WITT. Our homepage is going to tell you about all of our courses and events that are coming up. And it also supplies people with lists of external resources. You can join our mailing list, our mentorship, and then it has all of our contact information there as well to reach out to any campus coordinator. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Max. Women building futures. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
We hope you enjoy the show.